Yeah,
It's about changing your perspective, having a growth mindset.
right.
And this fits perfectly with our listeners. They're all about learning and growing, and that includes learning from your mistakes.
This whole stalled with one, thawed with all idea is
Yeah.
really powerful. It shows how everything in our lives is tied together.
Sure.
If you ignore one part, it'll come back to bite you.
Yeah.
But if you can get things moving in one area, it can help everything else. It's like we can create these positive chain reactions in our lives.
And that's a powerful thing to realize. It means that even small changes can make a big difference. You don't have to change your whole life overnight. Just focus on one thing, make some progress, and let that good energy flow into other parts of your life.
Okay, this is really hitting home for me. I can already think of a few areas where I've been stuck, and now I'm ready to do something about it.
That's great.
But before I get too carried away, I think it's time to go back to the source material. We're here to deep dive into paste and text, after all.
Right, yeah. Let's see what other insights we can find.
So, to recap, we've talked about how the stages of change model works for personal growth, leadership, even business. But I'm curious to see what else the author has to say.
Me too. What other hidden gems are waiting for us?
Guess we'll find out. But first, let's take a quick break and let all this sink in. We'll be back in a moment to continue our deep dive.
Sounds good.
And we'll explore what all of this means for you, dear listener.
Okay.
Okay, so we've been talking about these stages of change.
Yeah.
And it's pretty amazing how connected everything is.
Right.
Like, you can't just ignore your well-being and expect your work life to be great.
It's so true.
And our source, pasted text, it says straight up,
Yeah.
stalled with one, you're stalled with all.
It's a powerful idea.
Yeah, it's not just about work-life balance.
No.
It's saying that every part of our life is connected.
Yeah, it's all intertwined.
So it's like, if one area is slipping, like if I'm not exercising, could that actually affect how I handle stress at work or even how I am with my family?
Absolutely. It's like, imagine this. You're working all the time, no sleep, no exercise.
Okay.
You might feel like you're getting things done, but what's really happening, you get tired, you can't focus, you're not as patient.
Right.
Suddenly you mess up that big presentation.
Oh, no.
You're snapping at your family. That's the domino effect. One thing goes wrong, and it triggers a whole bunch of problems.
That's a little scary, but also it makes sense.
Yeah.
It really shows how neglecting one thing can have these consequences we don't even realize.
Exactly. And that's why understanding these stages of change is so important.
Right.
It's like a wake-up call.
Okay.
It's saying, hey, look at where you're stuck, not just in one area, but everywhere.
So how do we even start to fix this? It feels kind of overwhelming.
Well, like with most things, it starts with just being aware,
Okay.
recognizing that these different parts of our lives are all connected. That's huge. It's like turning on a light in a dark room.
Okay, so awareness, got it.
Yeah.
But then what?
Yeah.
How do we go from knowing the problem to actually changing things?
That's where action comes in.
Okay.
And the good news is, even small steps can make a difference.
Okay, that's good to hear.
The text talks about how momentum in one area can actually help other areas too.
Interesting.
It's like a ripple effect.
So wait, are you saying that if I, for example, start getting 8 hours of sleep every night, it could actually make me a better leader at work?
Absolutely. Think about it. More sleep, more energy.
Okay, yeah.
You can focus better.
Right.
You're in a good mood. You can handle stress.
Makes sense.
Those are all things that make a good leader.
This is amazing. It's like good things lead to more good things.
Exactly. It's not about finding this perfect balance. It's about recognizing that everything is connected.
Right.
And if you improve one thing, it can help you improve everything else.
Okay, this is really cool.
Yeah.
So the stages of change, it's not just a self-help thing. It's like a roadmap for being successful in every part of your life.
We've got it.
But let's be real.
Okay.
What about when we mess up? When we relapse? Does that mean we're back to square one, stuck all over again?
Here's where that idea of relapse as feedback is so important.
Right.
Remember, it's not about being perfect. It's about making progress.
Okay.
Setbacks are going to happen. It's inevitable.
Yeah. But they don't have to stop you.
So instead of feeling bad about messing up, we should look at it as a chance to learn and try again.
Exactly.
Does that apply to businesses and leaders too?
Absolutely.
What about in those situations where there's a lot of pressure and failure is not really an option?
It's especially important in those situations.
Okay.
Think about a leader who takes every setback personally.
Oh, yeah.
That can be really damaging.
Right.
They need to learn from it, just like Sarah. They need to ask, what can we learn? How can we change our plan? How can we come back stronger?
So it's about changing how you think about failure.
Yes.
Instead of being afraid of it, you're curious about what you can learn.
Exactly. It's like instead of hitting a dead end,
Yeah,
you take a detour that might actually lead you to a better place.
that's a great way to put it.
Yeah, it's about changing your perspective, having a growth mindset.
Okay, I'm starting to get it.
Good.
This whole stalled with one, stalled with all idea, it's really powerful.
It shows how everything in our lives is connected.
Uh-huh.
If you ignore one part, it will affect everything else.
It will.
But if you can make progress in one area, it can help everything else.
Exactly. It's like we can create these positive chain reactions in our lives.
And that's pretty amazing.
It is.
It means that even small changes can make a big difference.
Yeah, you don't have to change everything at once.
Right.
Just focus on one thing, make some progress, and let that positive energy spread to other parts of your life.
Okay, this is really making me think.
Yeah.
I can already see areas in my own life where I've been stuck, and now I'm feeling inspired to actually do something about it.
That's great.
But before I get ahead of myself,
Yeah,
I think it's time to go back to our source, pasted text.
right.
After all, that's what this deep dive is all about.
Yeah, let's see what other insights we can find.
We've talked about how the stages of change works for personal growth, for leadership, even for businesses.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm excited to see what else the author has to say.
Me too. What other gems are hidden in there?
I guess we'll find out.
Yeah.
But first, let's take a quick pause, let all this sink in.
Okay.
We'll be back in a moment to continue our deep dive and explore what all of this means for you, dear listener. We're back and ready to wrap things up, our deep dive into the stages of change.
Yeah.
We've gone through each stage
Mm-hmm.
from that first, I don't need to change at all phase.
Right, pre-contemplation.
Exactly,
Yep.
all the way to relapse,
Mm-hmm.
which, let's face it, that can be a real downer.
It can be.
But we've learned that it doesn't have to be.
It really doesn't.
We talked about how looking at relapse as feedback can actually help you grow, both personally and professionally.
Yeah, it's a different way of looking at it.
And maybe the most important thing we talked about is how everything is connected.
Mm-hmm.
That whole stalled with one, sold with all idea.
Right. It shows how what we do or don't do can have a big impact.
It's like if you're not taking care of yourself, it's going to show up in all these other areas of your life.
It's
Your work, your relationships, everything.
It's like that saying, you can't pour from an empty cup.
Right, exactly.
If you're not taking care of yourself, you have nothing to give.
And that's where this whole stages of change model is so helpful.
It is.
It's not just about understanding how change happens.
Right.
It gives you a roadmap, a way to deal with all the ups and downs.
Like a guidebook.
Yeah, exactly.
It helps you see where you are now, where you want to go, and how to get there, even when things get tough.
So for our listeners, what's the most important thing to remember? If they only take away one thing from this whole deep dive, what should it be?
I think the biggest takeaway is this: change, it's a process, not a one-time thing.
Okay.
It's a journey, not a destination.
Mm-hmm.
And it's different for everyone.
Right.
There's no magic formula, no one right way to do it.
So as long as we're moving forward, even if it's just a little bit at a time, we're on the right track.
Exactly. Progress over perfection.
And even if you trip up, even if you have a relapse, it doesn't mean you failed.
It just means you've learned something.
Right.
It's an opportunity to adjust and keep going.
I like how this model takes the pressure off trying to be perfect.
Yeah,
Because let's be real, that can be paralyzing.
it can.
And let's just be okay with the fact that growth and change, they're messy, they're not always pretty.
It's real life.
And this fits right in with what our listeners are all about.
Uh-huh.
They want to keep learning, keep improving.
Yeah, they're all about the journey.
I love that.
Me too.
So as we wrap things up, let's go back to that question the author asked in pasted text.
Okay.
So where are you on the journey?
That's a good one. It really makes you think.
It does.
It makes you look at your own life and see where you are in these stages of change.
And it's not just about figuring out what stage you're in.
No.
It's about seeing how everything is connected.
Right.
Asking yourself, what's going well in my life? Where am I feeling stuck? And what's one small thing I can do today to move forward?
And remember, even a small step can make a big difference. So don't underestimate the power of taking that first step, no matter how small it might seem.
That's a great point.
Yeah.
So on that note, we'll leave you with this thought.
Okay.
You are capable of amazing change. You have the power to change your life one step at a time.
Absolutely.
So keep learning, keep growing, keep moving forward.
And until next time, keep diving deep